Mohanty, Tali Lebden Long Kumar, Anjali Upadhyay, who will be taking part in this guide e-session of interaction with the participants. I'll hand it over to Anjali and the group, please. Thank you so much. You may kindly start.
Thank you, Nidhi Mishra ma'am, for your kind words for introducing us. Good evening, everyone. I'm Binayak Mohanty, geologist at Geological Survey of India. Me discussing about the effective preparation strategies for UPSC combined geoscientist and geoscientist examination for geology paper. As you must be aware, in the year 2020, the pattern for this exam changed, which consists of 3 stages. First stage for prelims, then second, after you qualify prelims, there is mains exam, and then the third stage is interview. For prelims, it's an objective paper. You have 2 objective papers, and for mains exam, there are 3 subjective papers. So the first, I will be discussing about the prelims part, the paper 2 part, exactly the geology part, and the paper 1 for general studies has already been discussed by Nidhi Mishra ma'am in the forenoon session. So I will be dealing with the paper 2 geology part. Let me tell you the format for this paper. The question paper will be set in English only. There would be 120 questions and for 300 marks, which consist of 10 topics. As we can see in the syllabus, there are 10 topics which you need to cover for your preparation. And it is of 2 hours in online mode examination pattern. And each question carries equal weightage. And there are negative marks for your negative response. So you have to be very careful in that regards. And there is one thing you need to understand, that these questions are very conceptual and from very fundamental part of the subject. Now we'll begin with topic wise. We have to see that what are the main topics that you need to consider or that you need to focus on while preparing for subject wise. When it comes to physical geology or structural geology, we'll be dealing with that, and subsequently we'll be telling you the reference materials of the books that you need to refer for in order to cover all these subjects, all these topics. And before I start, I would suggest you to have an integrated approach while preparing for prelims as well as for mains exam. By integrated approach, I mean you have to prepare simultaneously. You don't have to first prepare for prelims part and then go for mains once you get selected. I would suggest you to make it together so that in that your level of confidence will increase in that way. So I'll start with physical geology. Physical geology paper, you can expect questions, most important topics like internal structures of the earth, like they would ask about the boundaries, about discontinuities, in that way, the simple questions and all, like boundaries between CL and SEMA, in that manner. And you could expect questions from earthquakes, volcanoes, the fundamental part, and concepts of plate tectonics, sea floor spreading, continental drift also, and soil profile and soil types, and isostasy and relative adjustment is an important concept which you need to understand. You need to learn it well, because you can always expect at least 2 questions from in that paper and from that subject. And of course, the geomorphic processes and landforms of different geomorphic agents like river, wind, glaciers. Glaciers is the most important part I can say. In that way, you have to prepare, and for that book, which you can cover all these topics, I would suggest you to read Earth Materials by Kevin Hefferman and John O'Brien, where all these topics can be covered easily and you will feel confident about when you're answering the questions. Yeah. Now coming to the second topic, that is structural geology. For structural geology, it is an important topic in any exam. So you will be putting your focus putting your you should be concentrating on topics like rheological properties of rock, classification of folds and faults, their mechanisms, basic definitions like rake, pitch, plunge, deep, strike. Related to those fundamental concept, questions can be asked. More circle and criteria for failures of rock. Study of the topo sheets is important also, I would. And V rules and outcrop patterns, suppose it is given like this, the dip of the bed has been given and the slope of the valley is given. So you need to understand what kind of outcrop it would produce. So there are different cases, so you need to study that in details. And stereographic projection for structural elements that we usually do in the practicals. And also you need to have a clear-cut concept about this so we can answer during our exams. For the books, regarding the books, I would suggest the Structural Geology by Hakan Fossen is a very good book. You can cover all these topics from here. And Structural Geology by MP Billings, regarding the faults, pi and beta diagrams, you can do that. And for Structural Geology by SK Ghosh, because superposed deformation, you can always expect questions from superposed deformation. So SK Ghosh is a good book where you can refer to all these topics. Now, moving to the third topic, that is mineralogy. If you see the mineralogy part, it is divided into two, mineralogy and crystallography. In mineralogy, you can expect questions from polymorphism, isomorphism, exsolutions, and all. With examples, you need to remember which mineral shows which polymorphism and which minerals, examples of minerals which show isomorphism. The physical and optical properties of minerals, the basic minerals, silicate minerals like pyroxene, amphibole. You need to remember their physical properties as well as their optical properties. Anything could be asked. And similarly, the silicate group of minerals like for nesosilicates, sorosilicates, their silicon is to oxygen ratio. You need to remember all those basic questions. I mean, the basic things you need to remember in order to answer properly. Now, the second part of this topic for mineralogy is that is crystallography, where you can always get questions from crystal classes, the highest symmetry for normal classes, radio ratio rule, it has been seen, and planar point groups. You can always get questions from that also. So you need to prepare that well. For that, you need Mineralogy by Dexter Perkins and Introduction to Mineralogy by W.D. Nesse. I believe these are the two books would be enough for the prelims part at least to cover all these subjects, all these topics. Now moving to the fourth part, the fourth subject, that is Igneous Petrology. For Igneous Petrology, IUGS classification is the most important thing. You just need to remember that diagram and all. Igneous textures, forms, also you need to remember. And Bowen reaction series is important. That is also, and you need to consider while preparing. And processes of magma generations and differentiation, there are different processes. You need to not just to understand the definition, as well as also you need to remember what are the fundamental technique, I mean the fundamental part of that, the essential part of that process, process of magma generation, so that anything could be asked. Now, the phase rule is in an important concept where you could be asked about the degrees of freedom and all, and about the phase rule equation also that has been seen, and systems like incongruent and congruent melting, binary diagrams, ternary diagrams. You can always expect questions from there also. And igneous rocks, for mainly for granitic suits of rocks or basaltic rocks, lamphrophiles also, you expect questions from them. So you need to prepare well for that part also. Regarding the books, I would suggest Igneous Petrology by Mihir K. Bose is a very good book in Indian author context. And with respect to foreign author context, Principles of Igneous and Metamorphic Pathology by John D. Winter is very good book to cover all your topics which have been mentioned here, and overall for the overall completion of your syllabus. Now, moving to the metamorphic pathology part. In metamorphic pathology, you expect you can expect questions from types of metamorphism. Metamorphic textures is also important, and metamorphic phases is one of the most important topics that you shouldn't forget to, to study it, understand it well, not just the temperature, pressure, and the mineralogical composition of that particular phases, but also the interrelationship with respect to the phases series and well as with the plate tectonics as well. And you need to understand the crystallization and deformation relationship. And also, there is also one concept of paired metamorphic belts also. You need to remember all those. And classification of metamorphic rocks and shear zone rocks concept. So you need to understand, you need to learn it well in order, because there will be questions from these all topics for sure. Otherwise, there are topics in syllabus you can always get. So, but important topic which I believe that you can have questions from there anytime. Now, the book is again the Principles of Igneous and Metamorphic Pathology by John D. Winter. one book is quite enough to cover all these topics for metamorphic petrology. Now for sedimentary structures is most important, and as well as sedimentary structures, the primary sedimentary structures, secondary structures, chemically formed structures. You just need to understand all those things with proper diagrams, with proper understanding their mode of formations, their environments, their morphology, etc. And for textural and mineralogical maturity of different sedimentary rocks as well, and classification of sedimentary rocks like for sandstone, carbonate, Fox classification, Dunham classification for limestone. These are the classification, the things that have been named after a scientist, the classification schemes. You just need to remember that, which is always helpful from exam point of view. And of course, the questions are being asked from sedimentary environments as well. So you just need to look after that also. The conceptual part, just the basic part, but the conceptual, you just need to understand the concept for that. And for that purpose, you need just 3 books, I would say. The Principles of Sedimentology and Stratigraphy by Sandbox, Sedimentology by S.M. Sengupta for classification of rocks and all, Sedimentology and Stratigraphy by Gary Nichols for sedimentary and for understanding the different sedimentary environments. So moving on to the paleontology part. For paleontology, there will be questions from favorable condition for fossilization, taxonomy. There would be questions from morphology and ecology of invertebrate fossils, and brachiopods, lamellibranchials, and trilobites, and all. Evolution of vertebrate fossils as well. Morphology of microfossils like foraminifera is an important, diatoms, ostracods, all this. And carbonate compensation depth is an important concept that you need to understand. You need to learn that well as well. Stromatolites and Gondwana rocks and Gondwana fossils is always important. You always get at least one question from that part also. Regarding the books, Introduction to Paleontology by Amal Das Gupta, Invertebrate and Vertebrate Paleontology. For that you can refer, as well as for fossils and stromatolites. And for Paleontology by P.C. Jain and Anantaraman. Examples you can just remember for invertebrate paleontology and their ecology, their morphology. You can just read from there also. And there is another one book, for micropaleontology, Principles and Applications by Pratul Kumar Saraswati and M.S. Srinivasan. You can refer to that book for microfossils as well. Now, the stratigraphy part, if you see the stratigraphy part in the syllabus, there are 2 things. One is Principles of Stratigraphy and there is Indian Stratigraphy. So I believe because there are 10 subjects, as I said earlier, and there are 120 questions, so at least from one subject, you would be expecting at least 12 questions. So in that way, you cannot just skip just one topic. So you have to read it properly. You have to complete your syllabus judiciously. And for that stratigraphy of Principles of Stratigraphy, you would always expect some questions from there and from questions from Indian stratigraphy as well. So from Principles of Stratigraphy, you will be getting some principles. There are different principles, law of superposition and all. And from you also get questions for lithostratigraphy, chronostratigraphy, biostratigraphy as well. And regarding the Indian stratigraphy part, you need to remember this proper stratigraphic sequence for Dhavas, Singhbhum, and Aravalli, as well as for different proterozoic mobile belts. Phenologic stratigraphy like Paleozoic of Kashmir, Kutch, Trichinopoly, Cretaceous of Trichinopoly, and Shivalics. These are the important, but you can always try to cover the whole syllabus. I could say these are the most important, but you just need to cover the whole syllabus as well. Coal and Gondwanas are always an important topic in stratigraphy when it comes to the stratigraphy part. And Himalayan geology and tectonics, you can always expect some questions. Regarding the books, I would say the Geology of India by Ramakrishnan Vaidyanathan, which is a publication of Geological Society of India. Why it is important? Because the stratigraphic sequences which have been given is given by Geological Survey of India only. So it is the most accepted and the most important. So it is my kind advice to all of you that to follow that book, particularly when it comes to stratigraphic sequence. So both the volume, for volume 1 and volume 2. And there is another part for principles of, to read the Principles of Stratigraphy, Sedimentology and Stratigraphy by Sandbox is quite good enough. If you want to relate stratigraphy with respect to the plate tectonics part, the Making of India Geodynamic Evolution by K.S. Waldiya is very good. You can also refer to understand the plate tectonics concept. What is the reason behind the formation of basins and cratons, mobile belts, everything. Now, moving to the second last, economic geology. In economic geology, the processes for different ore formation are important. The two important, I would say, hydrothermal types of deposits and supergene deposits. And there are different terminologies when it comes to ore geology, like tenor, gang, proteor, ore. You just need to remember that terms and what are the definitions. The ore minerals and their association with the host rock and their mode of occurrences is also important. You just need to look at that. And Indian mineral deposits, its distribution, and with respect to its age. Like then for the next part, it's coal and petroleum. For coal, you need to understand the formation and distribution in India, like for lignite deposits, where the lignite deposits, bituminous deposits, anthracites, all those things. And for petroleum also, you just need to understand origin rocks, source rock, cap rocks, migration trap. These are all the terminologies that you need to understand, and understand the concept as well for prelims when it comes to prelims exam. So very small, very fundamental questions could be asked from these topics. Now, regarding the book for your reference, you could refer to Classification of Ore Deposits by Bateman in order to understand the processes for formation. There is another one book by Lawrence Robb, Introduction to Ore Forming Processes. You can always refer to that book also, which would give you a good broad perspective idea about the different ore formation processes for ore formations. And Ore Geology and Industrial Minerals by Anthony M. Evans is also a nice book. You can refer to that also. And regarding the Indian economic deposits, you can refer to Economic Geology by Umeshwar Prasad. It's a good book. You can always refer to that. Now, the last part, this is hydrogeology. Although in geology, for geologist exam, for geologist post, we do not have this paper in subjective part, but in prelims, because it's a common paper for both the geologists as well as hydrogeologists. So we will getting questions from hydrogeology as well. So the common questions you just need to prepare. You just do not need to go in depth of the topics. You just need to see the basic things. So which are the topics you need to cover, like groundwater occurrences and aquifer characteristics, porosity, permeability, transmissivity, the concepts. These are easy concepts. They are formulas you need to remember for transmissivity, Darcy's law, storage coefficient concept, applications of isotope in groundwater. And it has been seen in the last 2 years, the past question papers, the formula-based questions and formula-based questions and numericals. You just put the from Darcy's law, you can expect questions. The formula, you just need to calculate some basic calculations and unit conversions, and you'll get an answer, or equation wise from the well hydraulics part also you can expect. Now there are two books I would say. One is Groundwater Hydrogeology by David K. Todd, is good book you can refer, and one is Groundwater for Fetter. It's not been mentioned here, but Fetter is a good book which will clear your concepts regarding the well hydraulics part. You can just do that well for that. Now, these are the topics which I discussed for the prelims part, and the take-home tips for prelims, I would say, in just to make short this lecture. Practice as much as you can, because this is objective type questions, and you have to practice time-bound objective questions. You can take reference from GATE and JAM question papers as well, because that's the level of question that is being going to ask here only. So you can take reference from that only. You can practice as much as possible. Formulas, like I said, in hydrogeology, the formulas have been asked, equation has been asked, so it should be on your fingertips. You should be well aware of those things, and just go through the question paper before you start the exam. And there is also one thing: prepare for the go through the previous year question paper, like for it is available in the UPSC side as well. For assistant geologist exams, you can practice. It could give a good mock test practice for you, and as well as the 2 years question for 2020 and 2021, which got recently over for the prelims part. You can just see that, check the asked, so that you can analyze yourself up to what depth the questions are being asked. So you can analyze yourselves and see up to which your level you have to go and study there. And you have to do that by yourself. It would be beneficial to you also, and make notes accordingly. It would help you. Do not attempt unless you're very sure of the question, because there are negative markings, which are negative marks. So it would carry wrong impression. So you just don't want to lose your positive marks, right? And you need to take care of your speed and accuracy. As I said before earlier also, there are 120 minutes and 120 questions. So like it's 1 minute for one question. So you just need to be very, accurate, and you have to speed up while answering. You just cannot stay at one question. If you don't know the answer, you just cannot recall in the tenth moment. So you just need to see these things, and you just need to take care of all those things. And before finishing off, you just, if time permits, you just make sure to revise at once again, because it's an online mode exam. So you can do that, but make sure if time permits, you can just revise it once for all. Now, this is the first part of this presentation. And if you have any questions, you may ask regarding the prelims part or the prelims preparation. And,
Are there any questions? We can take a few of them.
Hello, sir.
Please speak.
Sir, so my question is that in prelims, while
yes,
we found we get the numerical questions. So those numerical questions are of simple type or they are complex. So because time limitation is there. What type of numerical questions?
Numerical questions, if you see the last 2 years questions, basically the numerical questions or equations that have been asked is basically from structural geology, not that calculation part where you need to unit conversion, the normally that we get in GATE exams. That is not the case here. These are just simple. Is time limited. We have time constraints, like for 1 minute, 1 question. It would be like that level only. So I believe the question level for the numerical is quite average and easy, I would say. You just need to be thorough with the concepts so that you just apply the formulas and you will get the answer in that way only.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Please, one by one, please. Hello, sir. I have one question regarding the paper 1, means in which we have to give the exam for history, geography, that part. How much time means we need to give for that? Means it have 100 marks. Means how much time distribution should it take in our preparation time, sir?
Like if you're talking about the self-preparation part?
Yes, sir. That means paper 1, that in which we have history, geography, economics, means all the current affairs part, all that.
Okay. For your kind information, sir, for the first part, the session has already been covered in the forenoon session. So in case you have missed it, tomorrow you can ask in the interactive session as well. But from my side, I would say that it is up to you that how much, just 1 hour daily is also quite enough for you.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
1 hour, fine.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, how to write a good essays in the main, sir? Good
Sorry.
Repeat your question, please.
For main exam.
Yeah, for the mains part.
How to write a good answers on effectively?
Yeah, for the mains, subsequently my colleagues will be discussing now. So I will be handing over the mic to them. So they will subjective parts now. Please be patient. Please be with us. So if we don't have any
next, we will be back into the next one.
Yes, sir. So that's all from my side. Now I hand over to my colleague, Lebden, to present the subjective part for the paper 1 mains paper.
Thank you. Now I will be discussing about the main paper, that is Geology paper 1, which consists of physical geology and remote sensing, structural geology, sedimentology, paleontology, and stratigraphy. And we will be sharing you what are the important questions that they have been asked or recently asked questions. And yeah, so we will be discussing only those important topics. So from section A, that is physical geology and remote sensing, one can expect this kind of question. That is, the first one is internal structure of the earth. They may ask about the composition, variation, that is rheological also. Sometimes they may ask about the boundary Sometimes they may ask about the geophysical anomalies within the Earth's structure. So these questions are quite important. You may expect for descriptive as well as the 5 marks question. And next one is weathering processes and product. This may be asked for short type of question, so you don't have to skip it. This is also important. Another one is geomorphic landforms, which may be river, wind, glaciers, waves, and groundwater. So amongst all these things, it's quite important. This question usually asks either in 5 marks question or either 10 or 15 marks question. And every year, this from this particular topic, one or the other usually asks. And most frequently asked topic are glaciers and this groundwater, usually karst topography. So one has to go through this particular topic. Another important thing is major geomorphic features of India, whether it's India, one has to go through about this Indian geomorphic features. Next is remote sensing. Here, some important topic that you should study for the mains is spectral signatures of soil, rocks, water, or vegetation. And another important thing is digital image processing. This may ask in short note type of question, and same like Landsat, IRS, spot characteristics and uses. These are usually asked in short type of questions. So you can make notes accordingly. And next one is aerial photographs. That is, they may ask about the types, their scale, their parallax, their relief displacement. So this may ask for 15 marks descriptive question, or they may ask about the types of aerial photography or the scales of aerial photography. So depending on that, you have to respond. And this is also another important topic which you don't have to leave. And another important thing for this remote sensing part is elements of image interpretation. They may ask about elements of image interpretation, so you don't have to skip about this. This you may expect for either 5 marks or for 10 marks. And some of the sample questions that they have asked from this particular section A are this landform produced by glaciers and fluvial actions, or continental thrips, or they may ask about the salient features of satellite imagery and aerial photographs. So these are the sample questions from this particular topic that previous examination has asked. And then the that I've referred from this particular section is Earth by Darpuk, Earth Science by Price and Sevier, Earth's Materials by Kevin Heffren, John O'Brien, and Fundamentals, usually Geomorphology by Fundamentals of Geomorphology by Hackett. And when it comes to remote sensing, I refer 2 books, that is Remote Sensing by John Jensen and Thomas Lellison. Author, I referred Remote Sensing Geology by R.B. Gupta. Next is section B, that is structural geology. Here also I have made some important topics that you don't have to miss. You have to study. So the first one is kinematics and analysis of deformation. You don't have to skip this topic. Stress-strain relationship for elastic, plastic, or viscose materials. They may ask in 1 year, they may ask about the stress relationship of elastic, or they may ask about plastics. So one can expect for short notes as well as the descriptive type of question for this particular topic. And another one is measurement of strain in deformed rocks. There are a lot of measurements for strain. So one can expect for short notes from this particular topic, as well as they can ask the whole techniques or the technique for this measurement of strain in deformed rocks. And another one is structure of fault, cleavage, putting, lineation, joints, and fault. This one you have to go through a little bit detailed, because from this particular topic, one question will come. So you don't have to leave this particular topic by any means. You have to go through this particular topic. And another important thing is geographic projection of linear and planar structures. So this particular topic has been repeatedly asked questions. So you have to go through this particular topic as well. And another important topic is shear zone. Almost every year, this question has been asked related to brittle or related to ductiles. So one has to go through in details the shear zones. And another important is the relationship between crystallization and deformation. So this they may ask about, they may ask in short type, relationship between crystallization, or they may ask about deformation also. So one can expect even from this particular topic either short notes or long notes. And the particular sample, question sample that they have asked for the past few years are like, they ask about the Ramsey classification of faulted layers. Sometimes they ask about the types of strike slip faults. Sometimes they ask about the characteristics of tactile shear zones with net diagrams. So accordingly, you have to write that. And the books that I have referred to for this particular structural geology is Structural Geology by S.K. Koch. It's very good. Structural Geology by Twist and Morse, Davis and Reynolds. And for the basic foundation for structural geology, I referred R.G. Buck. And another good book is Structural Geology by Hakan Folsen. And you can also watch the videos by Professor T.K. Bishwal on YouTube for better understanding of structural geology. Next, section C, that is sedimentology. Here also, usually they ask about the classification of sedimentary rocks. So sedimentary rocks, they usually ask about the classification of sandstones. Sometimes they ask about the classifications of conglomerates. Sometimes they ask about the classification of limestone. So those three questions are the repeated type of questions. So you have to focus particularly on that topic. And another important thing is quantitative grain size analysis. So this question usually asks for descriptive type of question. So you can make question accordingly. And another important things which repeatedly asks from this sedimentology part is these primary sedimentary structures, whether it be primary sedimentary structures, penny-contemporaneous deformation structures, or biogenetic structures. From this three topics, one or the other will come either as a short note or for a descriptive type of question. So you have to go, thoroughly go through this particular topic as well. And again, paleocurrent analysis, they may give some data and then some lithologs, and then you will explain about it. Or sometimes they directly ask about the what is paleocurrent analysis. So you have to focus on this topic as well. And then for descriptive question here in sedimentology, this last second, that is sedimentary involvement and facies analysis. So this is very important. Usually they ask for 15 marks or 10 marks. So whether it be fluvial, glacial, deltic, siliciclastic, shallow, or deep marine environment, one or the other they ask often. So you try to make notes according to this explanation. And again, another important things, a topic here in sedimentology is principle of sequence stratigraphy, its concept. So you can go a little bit details about the sequence stratigraphy, because sometimes they ask in detail, sometimes they ask about the just principle of sequence stratigraphy. So accordingly, you have to make notes. And here are some of the samples from sedimentology for previous question. Like sometimes they ask about the procedure for paleocurrent analysis, like I've told you, their significance. Sometimes they ask about the control and the composition of sandstone. And sometimes they ask about the Walter's law, which is related to this sequence stratigraphy. So and some of the books which I have referred from sedimentology part are the Sedimentology and Stratigraphy by Gary Nichol, Sam Polk, and then Introduction to Sedimentology by Sally Richard. And another good book which I have referred is Sedimentary Rocks by Betty John. Now coming back to paleontology, this is quite a vast topic, but if you here are some of the important topics. The first one is ichnofossils. Usually they ask for the short note types of questions, so one has to focus on this particular topic as well. And then another important thing is morphology and time range of brachiopods, either it be brachiopod, lemmiprang, gastropod, cephalopod, and echinoids. So most of the time you can expect one or the other morphology from this particular topic. And at the same time, they may ask about the evolutionary trend, like whether it be trilobites, lemmiprangs, gastropods, or cephalopod. So one has to go through in details their morphology, their time range, and the evolutionary trend of that particular species. When it comes to micropaleontology, the most important one is foraminifera and ostracods. So you have to, even here also, you have to study their morphology, their time range, and their evolutionary trend also, and their correlation, their paleo environment. And another important things from this paleontology part is the confauna plant fossils and their significance. Usually this question has been asked again and again. So one has to go through for this particular topic, and you can elaborate with the good diagrams of different type of confauna plant fossils and their significance. And when it comes to vertebrate paleontology, they usually ask about the Proboscidea, Equidia. These two are the frequently asked questions. So you can expect these two questions in future examination. And then find another important topic is application part of paleontology. They may ask about related to stratigraphy. They may even ask about regarding to paleoecology or paleoclimatology. So accordingly, when you study, you correlate, you make notes according to stratigraphy, paleoecology and paleoclimatology. And then you may even expect a descriptive type of question from mass extinction. And here are the sample questions that have been asked in previous years, like they're asking the diagrams and the morphology of ammonoids and the knot of evolutionary and their suture patterns. And again, they're asking about the internal structures of brachiopods shell. So in that way, they ask a question from paleontology part, and from paleontology part, the books which I've referred are the Principle of Invertebrate Paleontology by Twin Hoffels, Introduction to Paleontology by Amal Dasgupta, and Paleontology by P.C. Jain. And for micropaleontology, I refer Bilal. Back to section E, that is stratigraphy. This is also a vast topic, and this is also another important branches of geology. So you must be thoroughly equipped with it. And some of the important topics that you should particularly focus on it are the principles of stratigraphy, the code of stratigraphic nomenclatures of India, or you can also focus on the stratigraphy, biostratigraphy, and magnetostratigraphy. And again, coming back to India, they may ask about the Archean greenstone belt of India, or sometimes they may ask about where are these greenstone belt found in other parts of the world. So you should at least know some examples, or at least know some geological history of some particular area, not only just India. And then again, for Indian stratigraphy, you have to know the mobile belt of all the mobile belts in India. And then apart from that, you have to know the all the stratigraphy of the cratons of India. When it comes to Proterozoic sedimentary basin, the most frequently asked question are from the Kotapa and the Vindian groups. So you should focus more on this too when it comes to Proterozoic sedimentary basin. And when it comes to Phanerozoic stratigraphy, that is Paleozoic, they usually ask about Spiti and Kumaon. And usually in this two, they don't ask descriptive type of question. They may ask only in short notes, that is the 5 marks questions like the Blaney boulder beds, what are Blaney boulder beds, or they may ask about the pole formation of Himachal Pradesh. In that way, they ask. So accordingly, you have to study. And when it comes to Mesozoic, they may ask about Spiti, they may ask about Kutch or Trichinopoli. So you can expect either short notes as well as in the descriptive type of question. And another important topic from this stratigraphy is Gondwana supergroups. So you have to know about the stratigraphy of the Gondwana supergroups, their importance. So one has to go a little bit details when it comes to Gondwana supergroup. And coming back to Cenozoics stratigraphy, one has to focus more on Assam and Himalayas. They may ask about the Assam oil field related to it, in which formation those oil are being formed. They may ask related to that, or sometimes they may ask about Himalayas, their various structures, their evolutions, or their stratigraphy of either lesser or higher Himalayas. And then another important thing is Shivalics. Shivalik is very important. They have asked 2-3 times for descriptive type of questions, so you can also prepare for that. And last is the boundary problems of Indian stratigraphy. So boundary problems, every asks one question or the other, one boundary problem. So one has to study all the boundary problems of India with examples, with Indian examples, and if you can even correlate with the other countries. And here are the sample that has been asked from this particular topic, that is stratigraphy. Give the stratigraphic succession of Vindian supergroups. See, like I've said, from Proterozoic sedimentary basin, this type of question are usually asked. And then they describe briefly the natures of Deccan volcanic province and comment on this geodynamics. So this type of question has been asked from stratigraphy part. And coming back to books, I refer the Geology of India by Ramakrishna, that is volume 1 and 2. You will know a lot of things about the Indian stratigraphy here in this book. And for sedimentology and some stratigraphy part, you can also refer for SAM book. And then for detailed stratigraphy and the Himalayan evolutions or their geology, you can go through the Making of India, that is Geodynamic Evolution by K.S. Waldia. Thank you. Now, if you have any questions to be asked, you can ask.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. I'm Pradish. I'm studying MSc Applied Geology, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have some queries.
Yes.
Can I
Yes.
ask with you?
Yes. Yes. You can ask.
Yes, sir. Each question contains how many marks, sir? Can you explain about the mark pattern?
Usually, the first part, that is the part E, you will ask for 5 marks. There will be 10 questions for 5 marks, and the remaining 5 part they can ask either in 10 marks or sometimes they can directly ask for 30 marks.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
If there is no more question, Tali,
There's no one. Now I give the time to our dear colleague, Anjali Upadhyay. Now you can come and take your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Tali Libden. Welcome, Anjali. You may start, please.
Yeah, thank you, Lebden. Good evening, everyone. I'm Anjali Upadhyay, geologist at GSI and recently joined this organization. Today, I will be discussing about preparation of paper 2 of geologist main examination. So by now, you all might be thinking there's a vast syllabus and lot many books, and how are we going to read these many books in a very short span of time? So here we are to help you because we have gone through the same stage 2 years back. In paper 2, you can score maximum if you work a little bit smartly, and that can help you to get a good rank also. So what I believe in paper 2, we have to write a lot as compared to paper 1 and 3. So be prepared for that. But there are some sections in this paper like mineralogy and geodynamics. So in this, if you know the answer, you can save your time, which can be invested to the other sections which need more time. So let us discuss each section in detail. So the first section is mineralogy, and it covers your physical and optical mineralogy as well as crystallography. So first, from crystallography, the most important topic is symmetry elements of different crystal systems. So you can expect a question like describe different symmetry elements from the normal class of cubic system. So direct question like this can be asked, and most frequently asked is the monoclinic system. So you need to thoroughly read the symmetry elements of all the crystal systems. And for the physical and optical part, you can expect questions like describe, like I have already mentioned in the sample question, describe the composition, internal structure, and characteristic optical properties of pyroxene group. So the most important mineral are mica, amphibole, and pyroxene, which the question asked. So for these kind of questions, first write a short introduction, then the silicate structure with a schematic diagram, then the characteristic physical properties of the particular mineral for which the question is asked, then the characteristic optical property, and then any additional important information if you know. So next you can expect questions like determine the optic sign for uniaxial or biaxial mineral, and along with this uniaxial and biaxial indicatrix can be asked. So these were the topics which are important for the detailed question. And then there are topics like pleochroism, isomorphism, coordination number, and twinning especially for twinning in feldspar. So these questions are asked in short notes, like in your section A. But out of this pleochroism, again, you can expect a detailed question like what do you understand by pleochroism? How do you determine the pleochroism in plane polarized light? And then describe different pleochroic scheme for Hornblende and something like that. So for this section, the books we have referred were for optical mineralogy and crystallography part, the book by Dexter Perkins. Again, for optical mineralogy, you can refer to W.D. Nesse. And then you can also refer to Dana's Manual of Mineralogy. And especially for silicate structures, I have referred book Rock Forming Minerals by Jusman. So that was about the section A. Then comes the geochemistry and isotope geology part. So in geochemistry, important topics are composition of meteorite, partition coefficient, geochemical classification of trace element, large and lithophiles, and RE and RE patterns. So partition coefficient and composition of meteorite can be asked in short notes as well as in the detailed question along with some other questions. So RE is very trending, and you should know the different geochemical characteristics of RE and significance of RE anomalies. Like I have mentioned one question in a sample question, like discuss geochemical characteristic of RE and what is EU anomaly. Part you can expect questions from the topics composition of bulk earth, geological behavior of Earth's mantle, and geochemical cycle. From the isotope geology part, they mostly ask questions from half-life and deriving the decay equation. And along with this, they ask one of the radiometric dating method. And the most frequently asked are the uranium lead and rubidium strontium dating. So for this section, important books are a book by Brian Mason. This book covers your meteorites and geochemical classification of trace elements and composition of bulk earth, geochemical cycle, all this topic. For again, for trace elements and isotope geology, we have referred to Geochemistry by William M. White. There's another book for geochemistry by K.C. Mishra, and especially for isotope geology, I have referred to some of the videos which are available on Vidyamitra website for the better understanding of the concept. Next section is Igneous Petrology. So the most important topic from Igneous Petrology is IUGS classification. You can expect a direct question like discuss about the IUGS classification of acidic rocks or basic rocks or ultra basic rocks. So whenever if question comes like IUGS classification of acidic rocks, so you need to give the QAPF diagram. Then you can expect questions from Bowen's reaction series, fractional crystallization, evolution, and differentiation of magma. So all these topics are interlinked, and there are questions expected like write an essay on origin and late stage crystallization of basaltic magma, or discuss about the evolution of basaltic magma and something like that. Then again, next is nature of magma with different tectonic settings. So if a question comes from this topic, you need to give a proper diagram like in subduction zone setting, in mutationic ridge, what kind of magma you expect. So try to give more and more neat and clean diagrams to explain your answers. Next is phase diagram. So the important one is a binary system. So that every 2-3 years they always ask questions related to the this binary system phase diagram. Then there are topics like hotspot volcanism, continental flood basalts, cometrites, kimberlites, and earlier degrees complexes, and so on. So if question comes from these type of topics, you need to first give one broad introduction, then always describe in what kind of tectonic settings you expect these rocks, and then if you know, always try to give some Indian example. So this will help you to get good marks. For igneous petrology, we have referred to the books Igneous Petrology by M.K. Bose and Principles of Igneous and Metamorphic Pathology by J.D. Winter. These two books mostly cover your all the topics. You can refer to the book by Phil Potts also. And there is one very good online course material available by Professor Stephen Nelson from Tulane University. And especially for the phase diagram, I have referred to this material, and this is very easy to understand and very much helpful. And again, from the topics like hotspot volcanism and mental metasomatism. So for these topics, I have referred to the videos from Vidyamitra. Next section is Metamorphic Pathology. So the most important topic from Metamorphic Pathology is characteristics and mineral assemblages of different metamorphic facies, and out of which most frequently asked are green schist facies, blue schist, and eclogite facies. So you must thoroughly go through all the facies and remember all the mineral assemblages. This you can expect in a detailed question. Then again, porphyroblast and their significance. It can be asked in a 10 or 15 marks question. Then there are topics like thermal facies, ACF diagram, retrograde metamorphism. So all these things are asked generally in short notes. So you prepare these topics accordingly. Then metamorphic facies series, ultra high pressure metamorphism, role of fluids in metamorphism, geothermobarometry, and so on. All these questions are repeatedly asked in previous years UPSC geologist examinations. So you need to focus on these topics also. So again, for metamorphic also, the very basic book which we refer in which we read in our college days, the book by G.D. Winter, it covers almost all the topics, and especially for the facies, I've referred to this Metamorphic Pathology book by Miyashiro because it has given a detailed explanation of each and every facies, and which is very easy to understand. So last section is geodynamics. So this section again is very much scoring, and the most important topics again here are concept of continental drift and plate tectonics, and you can expect very basic and direct questions like give evidences of continental drift, or what do you understand by plate tectonics, and describe different types of plate boundaries. So if a question comes from plate tectonics, so whether it is from mantle plumes or subduction zone, oceanic island chain, accretionary wedges, rift basin, Becquerel basin, and so on. So you need to give a proper clean and labeled diagram and try to give maximum information in the figures itself, because it is a last section and there are chances that you might be running out of the time. So even if you do not have the time to write anything, try to give maximum information in the diagrams itself. Then in the second part, important topics are paleomagnetism, seismic belts, gravity and magnetic anomalies on ocean floor, seismic discontinuity in Earth, olivine spinal phase diagram, and evolution of Himalayas. Like in this part, you can expect questions like write a note on gravity anomaly at mid-oceanic ridge, or differentiate between the magnetic anomalies at mid-oceanic ridge and oceanic island, and something like that. And for this section, the books you can refer to are for tectonics, you can refer to Earth Structure, Global Tectonics by Kerry and Wine, Plate Tectonics by Casey Conley, and for the geophysics part, you can refer to Fundamentals of Geophysics by William Lowry. And the first chapter of this book is very much important. So this was all about the paper 2. And so if you have any question regarding the section which I have discussed, you feel free to ask.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I am Dhruv Upadhyay. Ma'am, I have actually 3 questions. First is means I have experienced the mains exam last year, and actually what happened that while attempting the questions, the lengthy questions of 10 to 15 marks, most of the 5 marks questions which we tried to attempt at. So actually, how should we manage the speed in that case? And also, if in 15 or 20 marks questions, if we are able to write, if in 15 3 pages are given, so if we are able to write 2 pages, and in 20 some 3 pages if we are able to write, and if some is left, then does we lose marks over there, or while in the checking process? And and overall approach should be more of attempting the questions, or just we should just let go the questions that we are not sure and confident.
Okay, I understood your point. So your first question was you could not attempt your section A. So basically what happened in section A, there are 10 questions and each having 5 marks of weightage. So 50 marks, that means, and like for my strategy was I always used to attempt section A first, because there are more chances that you can score maximum in that part. So first 30 minutes you give for section A, 30 or 40 minutes, and then accordingly, like you have 3 hours, you devote your 30 minutes for section A, and then 30 minutes for each of the sections. So always try to attempt section A first if you want to score more. Your second question was in the descriptive part, like in 15 or 20 marks question, you could not fill all the pages which were given. So no, you do not lose marks if you leave one page blank. The basic idea is you need to be straightforward and you need to write correct answer. All the papers. And the last question was, I'm sorry, I forgot your question. Can you repeat it again?
Yeah, so overall approach should be attempting of more of the questions, or we should just let go the questions we are not sure or confident.
Our objective is to qualify the exam, right? So in this particular exam, you need to attempt all the section. So rather than giving 1 hour to one particular section and then you could not attempt one section, so that should not be your strategy. So you should be speedy from the beginning of the exam, and then try to attempt all the section.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello,
yeah.
ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm asking that whether we should write the questions in tabular way, in point wise, or I should write the questions in a descriptive manner.
No, you should always write in like point-wise in bullets or in tables. That saves your time and that looks good also, and that is easy for examiner also. And that gives an impression that yes, you know the answer. So there is always chances to get more marks if you write point-wise.
Okay, thank you so much. And another
Try
question
to
is,
give more and more figures rather than describing. Try to give more and more figures and cross section, something like that.
Okay, sure. And second one is, can I use the color pens like that, or only 1 or 2 pens?
No, only use blue pen, and if you want, you can use pencil for the figures.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Color pen doesn't matter.
Okay, can I use that or not? Is it allowed?
No, you should not. You should use only blue pen.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Hello. We have
yes
more queries.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ma'am, do writing matters in the exam or not?
Because it's a writing exam, so I mean, like you should be able to convey that yes, you know the answer. That's all. Even if your English is not good, that doesn't matter. You should know the concept.
About good handwriting.
Oh, good handwriting. It should be legible.
Hello. Good evening, ma'am.
We can also use black pen, right? Or specifically mentioning that it's a blue pen.
Hello.
Ma'am, we can use black pen also, right?
I think yes, you can use black pen. Still, you should go through the this notification before going to the exam. Whatever is mentioned.
Yes. Anjali.
Yes, sir.
Please state to say in the notification what sort of color pens you can use and you cannot use. It is clearly written. Please go through the notification first. Next question, please.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, from when we are preparing for the exam, so we should make a short note for it, or we should first complete the whole syllabus.
Sorry, I could not understand your question.
Ma'am, my question is that when we start preparing, so first from the day one, so we should start making short notes, or we should complete the course at once, and after that we start making notes.
Oh, making notes. That is your choice, whichever way you are comfortable. Like it's better to write. So it of course that will help you in writing in the exam also. So whatever you are reading, it's better to make notes. So that will also improve your writing skills and improve your speed also.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Ultimately, that is going to help in the exam.
Ma'am, one more question.
Please.
Ma'am, the sessions about that is GSI videos on this, I'm not able to get these videos. So how could you please get a link?
No, they are not GSI video. That is a different website, which is I think from government, Vidya Mitra. So there all the videos for all the subjects are available, and for geology also videos are available, and that are very helpful. Oh, okay, I can share the link.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
We'll tomorrow in the interactive session we'll let you know maybe.
Hello.
Ma'am.
Yes. Your voice is not clear. Hello.
And how long? What is the minimum time limit that we can spend to prepare for